Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. I would like to start this with Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be with you and yours. And Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Since I did my video on Crowley and Islam, the algorithm started recommending me books from the subject of those that were involved in that OTO network, and one of the names that popped up was James Wasserman, and a lot of his books on Hassan Saba, the old man, this specific one which I'm doing a presentation on, the Templars and the Assassins, the Militia of Heaven. So this caught my interest since the algorithm, I guess, saw my video and then started recommending me books of this kind of nature. So I checked the book out. I wanted to read it, cover it, and I reserve my rights under free speech and also under consumer laws as a consumer of this book. So I hope you benefit from this. Again, I represent myself only, and I hope you benefit from this teaching. Before getting into the book, let's learn a little bit about who Wasserman was, who lived between 1948 and 2020. And when I looked into him, he was part of that OTO network. And he was a publisher, author, occultist, and he was very involved in those spiritual traditions in terms of his books and all of the work that he has done. So he mostly goes into like secret societies and spiritual liberation and just connecting with the works that Crowley has put out there. So yeah, now that you know a little bit about him, we can just jump straight into the book. So the book discusses the history of mystical secret societies, focusing on the Knights Templar and the Order of Assassins. So what Wasserman does, he kind of like gives you a buildup of the history, and which I cover as well here. So he gives you that foundation, which eventually leads into that conversation. And basically the book also examines the development of Western esoteric tradition and the interaction between the East and the West, which I said in the Crowley video that we need to bridge that gap between the East and the West. The emphasis is there on the importance of initiation, gnosis, and the search for higher consciousness. Mystical secret societies are hierarchically structured and share common characteristics, such as an inner doctrine, hierarchical structure, and moral values. And this book encourages the seekers who are looking into it to look at the complexities of these secret societies while also avoiding speculation. Now, when we look at secret societies, they use a method of gradually revealing secrets through levels of advancement to separate committed members from the curious. Oaths are required to receive secrets, which some historians and occultists mock. Society's teachings involve meditation, intellectual studies, sexual codes, and exercises to increase higher consciousness. Mystical secret societies believe in higher intelligences guiding them. Political secret societies aim for worldly power and anonymity, while the hierarchical religions focus on function and efficiency. Now, cults, often misunderstood, involve worship and devotion to a particular person or system of belief. The term cult, originally used to describe organized religions, has since become associated with fanaticism due to the media usage post-Jonestown fiasco. Cults often face persecution from dominant societal powers, as seen in historical examples like pagan Rome's treatment of early Christians and the modern state's actions against the Branch Davidians. The evolution of Christianity from a minor cult in the Roman Empire to a major world religion is basically explored as well, noting the influence of various spiritual movements and religions in the region. The chaotic and varied landscape of early Christianity, with numerous sects and heresies, laid the groundwork for the development of the faith. Now, if you look at the Greeks and Romans, they participated in the agape, a sacramental dinner where wine and bread symbolized the body and blood of Christ. But these gatherings were criticized for devolving into orgies. Gnostic teachings influenced Christianity, such as denying the God of the Old Testament as tyrannical, Mani's Manichaeism spread after his martyrdom, while early Christianity developed into a more organized religion with ecclesiastical councils and standardized scripture. By the 3rd century, the Roman Empire had many Christians, and Rome became a prominent center of the faith. The decline of Rome was marked by the increasing imperial power and societal issues, leading to the rise of Germanic tribes seeking Roman territory. The Germanic people had a primitive culture and elected their kings, contributing to the fall of the once mighty Roman Empire. As you see what Wasserman is doing, he's kind of giving you the buildup of Christianity and Islam before going into the subject of what I've learned and am teaching through this book as well. And even with the Germanic tribes, they lacked the concept of state or citizenship. They took over the Roman army and agricultural class, leading to Rome's decline. Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus exemplified Roman patriotism, which diminished as Rome transitioned to a professional military. Diocletian divided the empire, enforced the feudal system, and persecuted Christians. Constantine's victory marked the rise of Christianity, but he faced theological disputes like the Donatist schism and the Arian heresy. The Council of Nicaea resolved the Trinity debate and established the Nicene Creed. Constantine founded Constantinople and embraced Christianity, despite his less than saintly actions in 324. And after his death in 337, Rome experienced a decline in civic virtue and moral degradation and degeneration. The ethical decay of Roman society led to governmental corruption, excessive taxation, population decline, and the rise of feudalism. Yeah, it looks like what's going on in America today. Constantine's nephew Julian attempted to restore paganism but was killed in battle. Christianity gained power and influence, leading to the persecution of other religions and the destruction of the Alexandrian library. The sack of Rome by barbarian tribes and the weakening of the Western Roman Empire marked the beginning of the Dark Ages in Western Europe, characterized by chaos, war, poverty, and ignorance. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Empire flourished under rulers like Justinian, who codified laws and rebuilt Constantinople. The rise of Islam in the 7th century led to the loss of territories in the Eastern Roman Empire to Muslim conquerors. Despite facing multiple Islamic invasions, Constantinople managed to withstand the attacks, ushering in the Dark Ages in Western Europe, contrasted with the relative prosperity of the Byzantine Empire. During the Dark Ages, literacy was limited to the clergy, and the average life expectancy was low due to poor nutrition and medicine. European tribes engaged in continuous wars and were led by the Roman Church. Feudalism emerged in the 6th century with a land-owning nobility ruling over peasants and serfs. Serfs worked the land in exchange for protection and were essentially property of their lords. Vassals provided military service in exchange for land and protection. Feudal lords were responsible for providing protection, organizing agricultural activities, and maintaining infrastructure. Feudalism created a hierarchy with the king at the top. Now, the Catholic Church was heavily involved in the feudal system, accumulating estates and becoming the largest landholder in Europe. Kings relied on the support of vassals, and the autonomy of feudal lords served as a check on monarchs for centuries. As commerce developed, a wealthy merchant class emerged, leading to the rise of monarchy. Chivalry, influenced by Germanic, Muslim, and Christian ideals, marked the height of feudalism, promoting a code of honor and romantic love. And a lot of the European chivalry was influenced by the Sufis, al-Fatwa, the code. However, there was a darker side to knighthood, with frequent feuds and battles. The Holy Roman Empire, established by Charlemagne, played a significant role in unifying Europe. Charlemagne was a powerful ruler who supported the church and promoted education. Now, Charlemagne strengthened his empire through organization, encouraged agriculture and finance, and convened large assemblies. He protected the peasantry from serfdom and promoted literacy. So he tried to encourage literacy and education. Charlemagne was crowned Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III in 800. The Holy Roman Empire was created, uniting church and state. England was unified under King Egbert of Wessex in 829, with Alfred the Great defeating Danish invaders by 899. Canute of Denmark became King of England in 1016. William the Conqueror of Normandy was crowned King of England in 1066, leading to a political unification and a structured administrative apparatus. The English judicial system, based on common law, decentralized power, and the Magna Carta, signed in 1215, limited the king's power. The Vikings, led by the Norse tribes and the Danes, launched their conquest starting in 800. Germany emerged as a nation after the Treaty of Verdun in 843. Otto I strengthened the monarchy and was crowned Roman Emperor in 962. Spain was invaded by the Moors in 711, with Islamic rule lasting 500 years. Christian Spain eventually reconquered the territory by the 13th century. Italy was divided between Lombards in the north, the Church in central Italy, and Normans in the south. Anxiety about the approaching millennium increased in the 10th century. The year 1000 brought anticlimactic optimism after fears of cataclysms and events. Social developments flourished in the 11th century, with advancements in technology, trade, and agriculture. Increased mobility encouraged exploration and growth of cities. Pilgrimages to the Holy Land became popular acts of religious devotion. Jerusalem, under Muslim rule since the 7th century, was a major destination for pilgrims. Byzantium, Constantinople, and the Byzantine Empire served as vital culture and commercial hubs, preserving classical Greek culture and facilitating trade between Europe and the Holy Land. The division between Eastern and Western Christianity widened, leading to conflicts over the church and state powers. The Eastern Church operated as a theocracy under the emperor, while the Roman Church demanded autonomy and obedience to God's law. The Eastern and Western churches had conflicting views on the authority of the Roman bishop and the Pope, leading to the Great Schism in 1054. And with Pope Leo and Gregory VII worked towards papal reform, battling clerical corruption and lay investiture. Gregory faced opposition from the German Emperor Henry IV, leading to a rise of the anti-popes. The assassin myth centered around Hassan ibn Sabah, or Hassani Sabah, and his followers gained popularity in Europe during the Crusades. The Syrian assassins, the ones based in Masyaf in Syria, which is even shown in the Assassin's Creed video games, targeted key figures like Conrad of Montferrat, and influenced legends described by Marco Polo. The assassins were skilled killers with a mysterious leader known as the Old Man of the Mountain. European rulers feared the assassins' loyalty and cunning. The roots of the assassins can be traced back to the complex development of Islam since the time of Prophet Muhammad. Islam spread through Arabia, uniting tribes and introducing monotheism. Arab culture was characterized by trade, nomadic lifestyles, and devotion to music and poetry. Mecca was the central shrine of pre-Islamic religion in Arab culture. Islam is a faith of submission to God, with strict requirements like prayer and pilgrimage. The Sharia law guides Muslim life based on the Quran and traditions. Muslim culture values cleanliness, honesty, and commerce. Women had rights under Islam and were encouraged to marry for love. Slavery was prominent in the Near East, but Muslims treated slaves better than other cultures. Muslim civilization made significant contributions to science, literature, philosophy, and more. After Prophet Muhammad's death, a division arose between Sunni and Shia Muslims over the caliphate succession, with Sunnis emphasizing administrative leadership and Shias believing in the spiritual leadership from Muhammad's bloodline. The split was both political and religious, shaping the governance of the Islamic State as a theocracy. Abu Bakr, His reign ended with his death, widening the divide between the two factions. During the early stages of Islam, under the reign of Omar, the Caliph Omar, the Islamic Empire expanded by conquering territories in Syria, Persia, and Egypt. The Muslims practiced religious tolerance towards other faiths and allowed the occupied populations to retain their customs and religions. After Caliph Omar's death, political conflicts arose naturally, leading to the murder of the third caliph, Uthman, and the ascension of Ali as the fourth caliph. However, Imam Ali's leadership faced opposition, including revolts led by Aisha and Muawiyah. The death of Ali's son Hussein at the Battle of Karbala marked a turning point in the division between Sunnis and Shias. The rise of Shia leader Mukhtar and his belief in the Imams and the Mahdi further shaped the development of Shiism. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, a new Imam, was not a direct descendant of the Prophet. He died around 700, with some Shias believing he would return as the Mahdi. And of course, Shiism gained popularity in Iraq and Iran. Shia Islam gained popularity in Iran and Iraq, with the Abbasid Caliphate initially claiming Shia leadership. However, the Abbasids eventually betrayed the Shia faithful, leading to the growth of Shia extremism. The Alid line, restricted to descendant from Ali and Fatima, became the accepted imamate standard. Taqiyya, the practice of concealing true beliefs, was introduced by the fifth Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir. Armed revolutionary activities by Shia groups were defeated by Umayyads and Abbasids. Jafar al-Sadiq, the sixth Imam, became a rallying point for Shias after the Abbasid betrayal. Jafar al-Sadiq taught the doctrine of Nas, freeing the Shia leader from revolutionary activity. This led to the Ismaili split in 765, with disagreement over the successor of the seventh Imam. Ismailis believed in the esoteric truth and divinity of the Imam, leading to the establishment of the Fatimid Caliphate in 909 by Ubaydullah. The Ismaili Imams developed philosophical doctrines and attracted followers through emotional fulfillment and opposition to Abbasid rule. The proclamation of the Fatimid Caliphate caused a schism, with a Hamdan Karmat refusing to acknowledge Ubayd Allah as Imam. The Ismaili movement grew due to dissatisfaction with existing conditions and the promise of universal justice under the Mahdis. The Karmatis awaited Muhammad ibn Ismail's reappearance, with influential mystic Mansur al-Hallaj accused of being an agent. Mansur was arrested, tortured, and martyred in 922. And I covered that, how even Islam and Sufism and Mansur al-Hallaj heavily influenced Crowley and the OTO, where the first degree, right, the Minerval degree, and the second degree, there are elements of Near East mysticism, as I covered in the Crowley and Islam video. Karmatis thrived in Bahrain, attacking Mecca in 930 and seized the Black Stone. They were later absorbed by the Fatimids by 1077. The Fatimid dynasty had a golden age promoting culture and commerce in Cairo, with territorial expansion under al-Mu'iz. They held Egypt, Mecca, and Medina. Al-Aziz expanded the empire to include Syria, North Africa, and Sicily. Al-Hakim was known for his eccentric rule and persecution of Jews, Christians, and Sunnis. The Druze movement emerged in 1017. Al-Hakim disappeared in 1021, succeeded by al-Zahir and then al-Mustansir, who almost gained control of all Islam through a rebellious Turkish general in 1058. During the Fatimid decline, the military gained power in Egypt, leading to economic crisis and suffering. Badr al-Jamali restored order in 1074, taking control of all aspects of government. The Nizari-Ismaili split arose after al-Mustali became caliph, with resistance led by Hassani Sabah. The Fatimid imamate weakened with al-Amir murdered by the assassins in 1130. The rise of the Seljuk Turks further destabilized the region. The Sufi movement and teachings of Ismailism contributed to Sunni revival and strengthened the Ismailis as an opposition movement. Ismailism held beliefs in the Mahdi, the infallible Imam, and the importance of spiritual knowledge. Tawil interpretation is transmitted through initiation, gradually preparing the candidate for esoteric truth. The Batin embodies the inner truth and can only be communicated to disciples after an oath of secrecy and initiation into the sect. The hierarchy of Dais, working under the Imam, sought to bring the inner teachings to seekers through the Dawah mission. The Ismailis, in contrast to traditional Sunni models, emphasized the uniqueness of the individual quest for enlightenment. Ismaili doctrine combined philosophical speculation with various mystical traditions and included eschatological beliefs. Neoplatonism, introduced during the founding of the Fatimid dynasty, influenced Ismaili theology. The Rasail Ikhwan al-Safa, the Brethren of Purity, a collection of epistles, aimed to help readers achieve salvation through a blend of philosophical and religious teachings. The Book of the Highest Initiation, a potentially anti-Ismaili forgery, slanders the sect, reflecting a pattern of defamation against minority religious groups. The secretive and progressive nature of Ismaili initiation and training processes is acknowledged by modern scholarship. Society with a system of oaths and initiations, integrated hierarchy of rank and knowledge. And they have like a 9-degree model of initiation, which has been survived for thousands of years within the Ismaili community. The early years of Hassani Sabah, born in Qum in 1055 to a 12er Shia family, are major points in his life and his conversion to Ismaili doctrines and his journey to Egypt and the obstacles that he faced and how he established himself as a Dai in Caliph al-Mustanir's court, and basically how he established his own foundation in northern Persia, where most of those areas already had a history of Shiism. And Hassani Sabah founded the Nizari state at Alamut in 1090, establishing a stronghold for his resistance against the Seljuk Empire. Hassan strategically took over the castle and expanded his powers throughout Persia and Syria, successfully defending against Seljuk attacks. The Nizari movement grew in strength, utilizing missionary efforts and military tactics to seize key fortresses in the region. Hassan's leadership and the loyalty of his followers created a formidable opposition force within the weakened Seljuk domains, resulting in the assassins becoming a significant military power in the region. Hassani Sabah ascended to power at Girduk with the Seljuk support, ruling for 40 years and expanding into Isfahan. Ahmad ibn Atash converted thousands in the area, seizing Shadiz by 1100. Seljuks feared assassin power and launched attacks, leading to conflicts and agreements. Muhammad Tapar led campaigns against Nizaris, attacking Shadiz, where Ahmad was betrayed and killed. Sanjar maintained a ceasefire with the assassins, despite occasional conflicts. Hassan died in 1124, revered as the Nizari movement's key figure. Nizaris faced religious and military challenges, justifying jihad for their cause. The assassin state was established through ideological beliefs and a self-defense against enemies like the Seljuks. The relationship between Nizaris and Islam was debated, with Nizaris claiming Muslim orthodoxy but facing rejection and hostility from Sunni fundamentalists. The conflict between the two groups continued, culminating in the Qiyamah proclamation in 1164. The Sunnis and Shias had complex social relations to this day, with Sunnis often retaliating violently against the Nizaris, leading to increased opposition towards the assassins over time. The assassins used assassination as a political tool, targeting key figures to instill fear. Accusations of drug use and being apostates were common, but historical evidence does not support these claims. The assassins were seen as both criminal fanatics and elite fighters in the war against oppressors, with assassinations becoming less frequent as time went on. The practice of assassination led to hatred and suspicion among their enemies, with accusations of mercenary behavior. Sunni historians viewed them as heretics, while Ismaili chronicles and those historians saw them as guardians of sacred mysteries revealed through initiation. The term Hashishiyah was used to describe the assassins, or the Hashashin, but there is no evidence of drug use among their members. Now, Sunni scholars use the term assassins as a derogatory label for members of a sect, associating them with bad behavior. Hassan, a leader of the sect, emphasized the importance of the imam and community obedience. After Hassan, subsequent leaders maintained stability and continued expansion, with the Buzurgumid leading successful military campaigns and Muhammad focusing on provincial activities. They carried out assassinations and faced opposition from powerful foes. Now Hassan's successors, Buzurgumid and Muhammad, continued the Nizari state with successful leadership and expansion, focusing on military activities and facing opposition from powerful enemies. During the Seljuk era, the Nizaris placed a persecution, and they were facing much persecution, leading to a massacre in Ray. After Sanjar's death in 1157, Muhammad's son Hassan emerged as a radical leader at Alamut, proclaiming the Qiyamah in 1164. Hassan's proclamation marked the beginning of a new Nizari doctrine, severing ties with Sunnis and Shias. Hassan's successor, Muhammad II, continued his father's teachings, emphasizing the new doctrine within the Nizari community. And of course, with all the controversy, Hassan is still revered by the Ismailis today. Muhammad II proclaimed himself Imam after his father, Hassan II. With a sophisticated elaboration of the Qiyamah revelation, he elevated the concept of the Nizari Imam to be akin to God and focused on spiritual practices to attain closeness to God. Muhammad II faced political challenges from the Seljuk Empire's decline and conflicts with the Khwarizmians and the Ghurids. He also dealt with the resurgence of the Abbasid Caliphate. Hassan III, his son and heir, caused tension by aiming to blend Nizaris with Islam, eventually embracing Sunni orthodoxy and reintroducing Sharia. Under Hassan III's leadership, the Nizari state was recognized by Sunnis, and military expeditions focused on tribute collection. Hassan III formed a personal friendship with al-Nasir, was initiated into his chivalry order, and received noble Sunni wives. Hassan III's alliance with the Khwarizmian Shah broke due to his allegiance to Genghis Khan. Muhammad III succeeded Hassan III and returned to Alamut, to Shiite fold, embracing patronage of arts and sciences. Nasiruddin Tusi developed complex doctrines, recounseling Qiyamah teachings with Hassan III's behaviors. Muhammad III was criticized by the historian Juvaini for being cruel and insane. The end of the Nizari state approached with the Mongol threat. The assassins sought alliances with Christian rulers against the Mongols, but were ultimately destroyed by Huelgo in 1256. Kurshah succeeded his father and submitted to Mongol power, leading to the downfall of Alamut. After a series of battles and negotiations, Kurshah surrendered to Huelgo, who destroyed many Nizari fortresses and confiscated their treasures, and all their monies and treasures. The Mongols ruthlessly wiped out the assassins, including burning their libraries. Kurshah's son was smuggled to safety, and Kurshah himself was killed by his Mongolian guards. The Mongols also massacred thousands of Ismailis in Syria. Despite some resistance, most assassin castles ultimately fell to the Mongols. The Mongols went on to attack Baghdad, leading to the downfall of the Abbasid Caliphate. The devastation caused by the Mongol invasion is still felt in the Islamic world. Meanwhile, the Assyrian assassins had early contact with the Europeans during the Crusades and faced challenges from various sects in Syria. Despite setbacks, they found some success with the support of local leaders and were able to resist Crusader attacks. Muhammad Tapar destroyed Alapine Nizari communities, imprisoned Ismailis, but failed to establish presence in Aleppo. Bahram successfully led Nizaris to provide military support against Franks in Syria, Nizaris faced persecutions in Damascus. Sinan became a legendary assassin leader in Syria and faced threats from Crusaders, Sunnis, and neighboring tribes. He sought alliances with the Crusaders and Muslim rulers. Rashid al-Din Sinan's offer to convert to Christianity for alliance with Crusaders was misinterpreted. Assassins faced threats from Saladin and Nur al-Din. They successfully defended against attacks and sought alliances for their survival. Now Sinan, leader of the Nizari assassins, formed an alliance with Saladin through a display of trust and later aided in the murder of the Frankish king of Jerusalem. Sinan was revered as a mystical figure with clairvoyant abilities. After Sinan's death, the Syrian Ismailis maintained their independence and strategic alliances with both Franks and Sunnis, eventually re-establishing their ties with Alamut. The Syrian Nizaris avoided further assassinations of Muslims and navigated political instability in the Holy Land by appealing to Sunni rulers for protection, demonstrating their adaptability and strategic thinking. Now, the Nizaris faced challenges and negotiations with Frederick being raided by the Franks and facing decline after the fall of Alamut. They assisted the Hospitallers, faced opposition from the church, and sought help from King Louis. With the rise of the Mamluk dynasty, they became loyal subjects, with Baybars crushing their strongholds. Like post-Alamut, the Nizaris maintained their identity through cultural dispersion, concealing leadership and integration with Sufism. So a lot of the Nizaris would basically blend in with a lot of the Sufi tariqas and moving on into that aspect as well. And of course, you have Muhammad Shahi and Qasim Shahi lines led to the allegiance to Aga Khan III. And of course, his son Aga Khan IV, His Holiness, is the current Ismaili leader. Now, the Anjudan revival in Persia allowed the Nizaris to expand under Imam Mustansir Bilad II's leadership. Now, the 15th century Nizari revival saw a renaissance in thought and literature. The Safawi Sufi tariqa came to power in Persia, establishing the 12-verse Shi'ism, and tithing helped centralize power and control over the Nizari population. In India, the Nizari faith flourished under Pir Sadr al-Din. The move to India in the 19th century marked the beginning of a new era. Aga Khan I established the Nizari imamate in India with support from the British. His legal recognition passed to his son, Aga Khan II, who founded and focused on education and community welfare. Aga Khan III continued this legacy, working for the betterment of his people through various reforms and investments. Aga Khan IV, the current imam, carries on this tradition, emphasizing education and healthcare for all. Now, that's why you see a majority of these Ismailis today are South Asians, Indians and Pakistanis, and you have many of the Aga Khan universities and hospitals in Pakistan still there and still thriving and prospering. The Aga Khan Fund for Economical Development was established in 1984 to support third world community self-development projects by the Imam. Aga Khan IV promotes Islamic religion, architecture, and civilization among Western students through scholarships at American University. He also founded the Institute of Ismaili Studies in London to encourage worldwide Ismaili scholarly research. Aga Khan IV leads several million Nizari Ismailis, who are the majority of Ismailis worldwide, who strive to improve their socioeconomic status. The Nizari Imams have embraced Western achievements, contrasting with other Muslim leaders. The loss of their state has not hindered the modern Nizari success, serving as an example of the values of hard work and moral values. And as of today, the Mongols don't exist, but the Nizaris, Ismailis definitely do. They're rich, they're loaded, they're educated, and they're thriving in 25 plus countries. The assassins identified as the first organized example of the assassins, if you really look at it, they are the What you describe in the modern world, they are basically terrorists from what the Western world would describe them. Serve God through political killings, while Arab and European historians have vilified them. And the assassins' religious revolutionism influenced the Knights Templar and the European occult revival. So that is the truth, right? The Hashashin and the Ismailis, they gave much light and wisdom to the Knights Templars and other people and groups from Europe who took that knowledge back to Europe and formed their own societies of what we know today as Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, etc. Even Christian Rosencreutz was initiated by the Sufis. The assassins' influence has extended beyond their time and space, showcasing the power of religious ideals in global history. The Knights Templars, established in the early 12th century as a crusading religious order, became the Pope's private army but were later persecuted for alleged crimes. The legendary Templars' downfall and their enduring legacy prompt questions about their fate and significance in European culture. Urban II's leadership in promoting the First Crusade, driven by religious and political motives, led to a united Christian effort to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rulers. The crusade attracted widespread support and mobilized armies to embark on the historic expedition. William's son-in-law led 35,000 soldiers in the first battle of Crusades at Nicaea, defeating overconfident Turks. All Crusader armies united and marched through Turkey to Antioch. Baldwin established himself as a prince of Edessa while the main force led siege to Antioch. After a long siege due to fortified city walls and poor conditions, the Christians entered, aided by Muslim treachery. They acquired relics and took Jerusalem after defeating the Fatimid military. Leaders divided territories, with Baldwin becoming king of Jerusalem and expanding European power until his death in 1118. The Knights Templar, founded by Hugues de Payens, who was also a Moorish Sufi, and his grandfather was a Moorish Sufi as well, with other knights in Jerusalem, aimed to protect pilgrims and care for them, with the help of supporters like the Count Fulk V of Anjou and Count Hugues of Champagne. The order grew despite early challenges, and St. Bernard's influence and the recognition by the Church of the Council of Troyes led to their establishment as an ecclesiastical body. Politically powerful Catholic theologian Bernard was instrumental in the founding and success of the Templar order, crafting their rule and securing papal approval. His organization skills and spiritual influence were crucial to the order's growth and development. The rule dictated strict military and religious conduct, emphasizing poverty, celibacy, and loyalty to the order. Bernard's devotion to the Virgin Mary also influenced Templar beliefs. Military instructions and disciplinary guidelines were extensively outlined in the rule, ensuring the order's efficiency and success. And the ceremonies of initiating new Templar members included an interrogation of their willingness to give up their former lives, take vows of poverty and chastity, and swear loyalty to the order. The secret rule was read by and to new members, requiring absolute obedience and loyalty. Changes in the rules, such as contact with excommunicated knights, led to confusion and potential issues within the order. And punishments for infractions included humiliation, loss of privileges, or expulsion. The rule also outlined offenses that could result in expulsion, including simony, theft, and heresy. Bernard's, in praise of the new knighthood, emphasized the courage and discipline of Templars, establishing the concept of the warrior monk. The hierarchical structure of the order included the master, senescal, marshal, and other officials responsible for military functions and governance. And during the high medieval period, the Knights Templar operated under strict hierarchical structures, overseen by the master of the order and commanders of the houses. A visitor of the order was appointed to oversee European operations, with knights forming the elite corps, drawn exclusively from the nobility. Most members, including sergeants and associates, supported the knights in various roles. The Templars were renowned for their financial prowess, establishing international banking practices through their network of fortresses. They managed funds, collected taxes, and provided banking services to European monarchs and the papacy. The order's financial activities contributed to the development of a cash-based economy in Europe. Despite their wealth, the Templars faced significant financial challenges due to the cost of maintaining their military campaign. Now, Bernard, papal recognition, and the Council of Troyes increased Templar membership. The concept of knight monks gained popularity. Hugues de Payens attracted donations in France, England, and Portugal, and established the Templars internationally. The order prospered in England under King Stephen and in Spain under Alfonso I. In the Holy Land, Fulk and Hughes led the Templars against Damascus but were defeated. The Templars' fame and recruitment efforts grew. Innocent II supported the order against anti-pope Anacletus and issued a papal bull in 1139, affirming the Templars as God's chosen people. During the Second Crusade, the bull created a new category of chaplain brother within the Templar order and granted them numerous privileges, such as constructing their own churches, retaining booty seized in battle, and being exempt from church tithes. The bull also asserted the Templars' authority solely to the Pope, making them his private army. The Templars were tasked with protecting pilgrims and the Catholic Church itself, with subsequent bulls further strengthening and legitimizing their mission. The political landscape of Outremer during this time was complex, with various factions and alliances forming and breaking in the Holy Land, leading to conflicts and shifting allegiances. The Templars played a significant role in the Second Crusade, with their iron discipline and coordination contrasting the disorganized European forces. They also provided crucial financial support to King Louis VII. Their service during this crusade solidified their importance in European plans for the Holy Land. Rumors of treachery and bribery against leaders, including European kings and Palestinian barons, marred the Second Crusade. Resentment towards Byzantines grew as alliances with Turks caused losses. Louis called for a crusade against Byzantines after his defeat at Damascus. Templars accused of accepting bribes. And of course, Everard de Bar succeeded Robert Tacron as Grand Master and joined Louis in France to plan a new crusade. Zangi's death led to Nur al-Din's rise, defeating Frankish forces. And the Franks are basically the French. Templars secured base at Gaza, launched attacks against Ascalon, and of course accusations of greed against Templars at Ascalon led to the Grand Master's death. Pope Eugenius died in 1153. André de Montbrad became fifth master of the temple. Amalric attacked Egypt, and the Templars refused to support due to the breaking treaty. Saladin rose to power, ending Ismailism in Egypt, becoming king of the Ayyubid dynasty. Saladin was revered for justice, courage, and piety, unified Muslims against European infidels. And that's pretty much it. I mean, this history, if you really look at it, these groups never stopped fighting against each other, whether it's the Crusades of the Middle Ages or what we saw with the modern-day Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So the Western powers not only lost the Crusades to the Muslims in the original Crusades, but they also lost the current conflicts of Iraq and Afghanistan. And of course, it's still the same forces, right? The colonialism of the British and the French, the Franks in Africa and the Middle Eastern countries, and the British proclamation for Gaza. I mean, it's still the same people fighting against the same people. And back and forth they go across the world and across the ages. And even the Assassin's Creed video game shows you this kind of stuff through its own, cryptic ways that it shows you, right, of how the world, nothing in this world works the way that you think you do. So even with the assassins, they started making alliances so they could have strength against Saladin. leading to their murder of their ambassador by a Templar knight. Odo de Saint Amand supported the knight, causing tensions with Amalric. Walter was arrested and thrown into prison, losing the possibility of an alliance with the assassins. Saladin's victories mounted criticism against the Templars. Pope Alexander III issued a bull to protect the Templars, and King Amalric's concerns about the order were not addressed as he died. Ecclesiastic leaders criticized Templar abuse at the Third Lantern Council, and Saladin's victories led him to becoming the Sultan of Islam. Disunity among Crusaders allowed Saladin to take advantage of this. The Templars suffered losses in battles against Saladin. Gerard de Richfort's actions led to disastrous outcomes. The Battle of Hattin saw the decimation of the Christian army and the capture of key territories by Saladin. Saladin captured Jerusalem in 1187, cleansing the city of Christian presence but allowing natives to remain. The Third Crusade was called by Pope Gregory the Eighth, with Frederick Barbarossa, Philip Augustus, and Richard I leading the charge. Richard's brutality and tactical prowess against Saladin helped rebuild Templar reputation. After a peace treaty in 1192, Richard returned to England. Saladin's death in 1193 allowed Outremer to rebuild quietly. Pope Innocent III supported the Templars, urging reform and using them as his army, and the Fourth Crusade aimed to liberate Jerusalem and eradicate Catholicism. Now, the Fourth Crusade was led by nobles loyal to Innocent and funded by the Templars, with a plan to unite Christian forces in Egypt. However, the Venetians betrayed the Crusaders, leading to the capture of the Christian city of Zara. Innocent excommunicated both Venice and Crusaders, leading to the attack on Constantinople in 1204. The wholesale looting and pillaging that followed led to the destruction of Innocent's dream of a unified Christianity. The resulting Latin kingdom in Constantinople fell back into Greek hands within 60 years. The military orders then became the dominant European military presence in the Holy Land. Innocent's disappointment at Constantinople fueled the Albigensian Crusade and they're against the Cathars and a peaceful dualist Christian sect in France. Now, these accusations against the Cathars included ritualistic Satan worship, were rooted in fear of their teachings on spirituality and rejection of materialism. Innocent's campaign against the Cathars led to the Inquisition, and medieval European dualism was not a continuous tradition but a series of independent movements with similar beliefs. Now, the Cathars believed in direct personal experience of God, rejection of the Old Testament, and the salvation of soul through gnosis. They viewed Jesus as an angel sent by God to guide humanity. Their beliefs challenged the authority of the church and were targeted by the Inquisition for their perceived heresy. Physical resurrection was rejected by the Cathars, who believed the Roman Church worshipped Satan. The Cathar elect or perfect lived a life of poverty, strict vegetarianism, and intensive fasting. They rejected the church hierarchy and instead followed a simple ascetic lifestyle. The consolamentum ritual or baptism of fire was administered to the perfect, who were essential to the Cathar belief. The movement spread through southern France, Germany, and Italy, but ultimately declined due to their rejection of marriage, materialism, and the poor's lack of interest in their ideals. The Cathars were persecuted by the church, leading to the establishment of the Inquisition in 1233 to root out heresy. Templars also participated in the persecution of Cathars, which ultimately led to the end of Catharism by 1325. Now, the Fifth Crusade, led by Pope Honorius III, saw the Templars consolidating power in the Holy Land by reinforcing castles and forging alliances. The Crusaders, under the command of the inept Cardinal Pelagius, suffered a disastrous defeat at Diomedes, leading to the Sultan's generous truce offer. The Sixth Crusade, led by Frederick II, ended with a controversial treaty with the Muslim Sultan angering the Templars and leading to tension with Frederick. And despite the excommunication and disagreement with the Pope, Frederick negotiated a treaty with strategic implications for the Templars, causing further rifts with them. The Teutonic Knights, following their arrival in Outremer, engaged in conflicts, including an unsuccessful attack on Castle Pilgrim. Frederick II, under pressure from the Pope, returned to Europe in 1229. The Templars flourished during his absence, gaining wealth and land. However, conflicts between the Templars, Hospitallers, and other military orders erupted, leading to a civil war. In 1244, the Turks conquered Jerusalem, prompting the Templars and the Hospitallers to unite against them. The Seventh Crusade, led by Louis, suffered a devastating defeat in 1250 at the hands of the Baybars and Islamic forces. Louis's refusal to negotiate with Muslims led to his downfall. Louis was captured by the Muslim army but released on a promise for ransom. A new sultan was murdered by the Mameluke bodyguards, leading to power struggles. Louis was held for ransom, with Templars refusing to help until forcefully persuaded. And the assassins demanded tribute from Louis, leading to a non-aggression pact. Louis left in 1254 while conflict erupted in Acre. The Mongols and the Mamelukes posed threats. Mameluke General Baybars defeated Mongols and Christians, seizing power. He launched an offensive against Outremer, taking multiple territories. Baybars dealt crushing blows to Templars and Franks, leading to the end of their control in Palestine. Louis embarked on a second crusade but died in Tunisia. Prince Edward of England entered Acre, securing a truce with Baybars. Charles of Anjou sought to rule in Palestine, leading to political turmoil. The Franks elected King Hugh III of Cyprus amidst claims to the throne of Jerusalem. Charles of Anjou supported Maria's claim to the throne, negotiating her acceptance of his offer in 1277 and becoming King of Jerusalem. The Templars' relationship with Charles led to mistrust from the Christian community. Baybars' death weakened the Templars and led to a truce with the Franks in 1282. After Charles's death in 1285, the throne reverted to King Hugh's sons. In 1291, Acre fell to El-Ashraf, and the Templars were massacred. The Templars continued to face challenges, with Jacques de Molay elected as the last Grand Master. Despite efforts to rebuild and gain alliances, growing hostility led to their downfall. The Templars were tied to the Crusades and faced hardships due to defeats. Membership included thousands of individuals, and they had extensive assets in Europe. Proposals for unification of military orders emerged due to the loss of Palestine. King Louis IX and Pope Nicholas IV supported the ideas, but progress was hindered by the subsequent popes. Now, Philip IV, a powerful king, faced financial struggles and clashed with Pope Boniface VIII, ultimately leading to Boniface's death. De Nogaret, a key figure in Philip's court, orchestrated attacks against the papacy. Philip's actions against the Templars were part of a broader conflict between secular kings and the papacy in the early 14th century. Du Bois proposed a new crusade with a common treasury, wanting to abolish the Templars and seize their assets. Raymond Lull suggested a unified military order led by Philip as warrior king. Pope Clement V, under Philip's influence, moved papacy to Avignon. Facing financial problems, Philip arrested all French Jews for their wealth. Templar Grand Master de Molay opposed uniting orders, denying any wrongdoing against heresy allegations. Hospitallers adapted to protect European commerce. De Molay demanded inquiry to clear the Templars, worsening their fate. Witness Esquin de Florian led to Templar downfall. With support from ex-Templars and a cleric, Philip authorized new members, concluding the end of the Templars. Philip ordered the arrest of all French Templars on October 13, 1307, Friday the 13th, accusing them of various crimes. Guillaume de Paris and the Inquisition were involved in the affair. The Templars faced torture and forced confessions, admitting to heretical practices. Various Templars gave differing accounts of a mysterious idol worshipped by the order. Only one head, believed to be that of a martyr, was found in the Paris temple. Templars attributed their heretical practices to past Grand Masters who had been captured by Muslims. Various Templar leaders confessed to heretical practices under torture. Rumors of a secret rule attributed to Master Roncelin surfaced. On November 24, 1307, hundreds of Templars were arrested, with only 4 proclaiming their innocence. Many confessed under torture or threat, with some dying from torture. European monarchs like Edward II of England and James II of Aragon refused to arrest the Templars. Pope Clement intervened, issuing a bull requiring their arrest. The accused faced biased trials with no defense allowed. Clement suspended the French Inquisition and formed a papal commission to handle the case fairly. Philip of France initiated a vilification campaign against the Pope. The Estates General supported Philip's actions. Clement, facing pressure, split the investigation into 2 categories. Despite appearing to uphold fairness, both Philip and Clement had ulterior motives. The charges against the Templars including denying Christ and other heretical beliefs. The entire ordeal lasted 7 years before finally being resolved. Leaders of the Templar order were accused of committing various sins, such as spitting on the cross and worshiping idols during their reception ceremonies. They were also accused of engaging in homosexual activities and failing to properly consecrate the host during the Mass. Despite initial confessions under torture, some Templars later denied these accusations and defended their order's innocence before ecclesiastical councils. However, King Philip IV of France orchestrated a campaign to discredit the Templars, leading to the arrest and burning of many members who revoked their confessions. This led to a decline in Templar defenders and the ultimate dissolution of the order. In 1310, the Papal Commission found the case against the Templar order unproved, but discovered unorthodox practices. In England, the Templars were treated benignly, and only 3 made confessions in 1311. Scotland, Aragon, and other countries in the Iberian Peninsula found the Templars innocent. In Germany, the order was initially declared innocent, but Clement overturned the verdict. Italy had mixed responses, with some regions finding Templars innocent and others guilty. Amaury de Lusignan negotiated with the Templars in Cyprus before arrests were made. The Council of Vienne in 1311 focused on disposing of Templar property. Clement faced pressure to find damaging evidence against the Templars, but struggled to do so. New confessions were obtained through torture, and Clement invited Templars to defend themselves at the council. The fate of the Templar order was sealed by King Philip and Pope Clement, resulting in the suppression and dissolution of the order in March 1312. Despite protests from some members, the order's assets were redistributed to other military orders. Surviving Templars were either acquitted or punished for heresy. The 4 top leaders were condemned to death, with 2 revoking their confessions and being burned at the stake. The question of the Templars' guilt remains a controversial and debated topic in history, and the skeptical historical view of the Templars argues that they were a genuine historical entity exterminated in the Middle Ages, their survival leading to myths and periodical outbreaks of speculation. Now, there are many that, including G. Legman, who contend that the Templars were a homosexual cult with Luciferian dualist beliefs, supported by Thomas Wright's 1866 essay, and some people today still have that speculation. Now, the influence of St. Bernard's creative rule of the order, the Templars' contact with the Holy Land, and the impact of Cathar beliefs are key factors in understanding the Templar phenomena. Now, the Templars' destruction contrasted with their spiritual myth, leading to questions about their innocence or guilt in heretical doctrines. The interconnectedness of Templar history with Languedoc and the Cathars suggests possible areas of heresy within the order, raising questions about their innocence. These influences shaped the complexities of the Templar story, highlighting the duality of their legacy and the possible innocence and accusations of heresy. Now, this book discusses the guilt of the Templars, the structure of the Knights Templar, and their possible mystical teachings. It is argued that an inner core of Templars may have subscribed to some of the behaviors that they were accused of, and these men were channels through which the Gnostic Ismaili legacy entered European occultism, and the exploration of the development of the Western mystery tradition through the Crusades, and the fusion of Islamic and Christian mystical teachings, and the origins of Western mystery tradition in Egypt and Hebrew Kabbalah shows that all of this stuff, that why the Muslims and Islam were never given any credit. That's why I made my channel and made my presentations, so now you know. Now, the Tree of Life, part of the Sefer Yetzirah, is a map providing liberation methods in Kabbalistic tradition. And even Kabbalah was heavily influenced by Sufism and Islam. And, watch my video that I did with Sheikh Wahid Azal. If you go on my playlist, the second interview that I did with him covers this extensively. Now, Egyptian, Greek, and Arab cultures also had alphanumeric languages, allowing hidden interpretation of words and numbers. The Eleusinian mysteries introduced by Orpheus in Greece conveyed esoteric truths, later preserved by Plato and Lucius Apuleius. Gnosticism emerged with dualistic themes highlighting the struggle between spirit and matter. Hermeticism, influenced by various beliefs, emphasized spiritual ascent through mystical cultivation. Neoplatonism further refined these teachings, promoting elevation of consciousness through meditation. Islamic scholars influenced by Neoplatonism introduced Aristotle's rational inquiry, challenging medieval Christian ideals. The Crusades spurred the migration of mysteries between Christianity and Islam, influencing European esotericism. Surviving Templar initiates may have played a role in transferring Gnostic Ismaili teachings to Europe, shaping Western esotericism. The esoteric teachings of the Templars from the East led to an occult revolution in Europe during the Renaissance. And of course, the presence of the Muslims and the Moors in Spain also contributed heavily to that. Characterized by a surge of learning, interest in classical literature, and the decline of feudalism. Now, artists and scholars embraced mysterious ideas such as the Grail myth, tarot, and Hermeticism. The influence of the Knights Templars and Hermetic thinkers from early Christian period blossomed during this period. The introduction of tarot cards to Europe and the interest in Hebrew Kabbalah further contributed to the growth of esoteric movements. The merging of Greek Hermeticism and Jewish Kabbalah led to the development of Hermetic Kabbalah, influencing thinkers like Pico della Mirandola and Johannes Reuchlin. These occult disciplines and secret societies reflected an acceptance of individuality and marked the decline of the church's authority during this period. The Hebrew language origins lies in its ability to unlock nature's secret, as seen in the Hermetic Kabbalah system. Alchemy was a physical science that evolved to recognize matter's healing potential. Magic, like alchemy, embraced the divine in matter. Secret societies like the Rosicrucians emerged, paralleling the rise of mystical practices in Europe. The Rosicrucian order, founded by Christian Rosencreutz, aimed at healing and spiritual reformation. Now, influential figures like Paracelsus, Giordano Bruno, and John Dee contributed to the mystical movement. Freemasonry's connection to Rosicrucianism became prominent in the 18th century, linking mystical principles of both traditions. The origins of Freemasonry are shrouded in mysteries, with theories suggesting Templar influence, while others point to medieval guilds. Now, the spread of Freemasonry in England and Scotland in the 18th century brought about various degrees of initiation, including the Templar-inspired York Rite and Scottish Rite. Baron van Hound and Johann Stark played significant roles in the development of Freemasonry in Germany, infusing it with Templar mythology and alchemical interest. Now, the Bavarian Illuminati and other secret societies in the 18th and 19th centuries utilized Masonic networks for political purposes. Figures like Eliphas Levi, Madame Blavatsky, and S.L. McGregor Mathers contributed to the growth and popularization of occult teachings and practices in Europe during this time. The English publication of the Kabbalah unveiled by Westcott and Mathers led to the formation of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in London in 1888. The Golden Dawn attracted prominent literary figures like Yeats, and its systemized esoteric tradition influenced modern occultism. The order's initiatory symbolism was based on the Rosicrucian myth, and its concept of secret chiefs highlighted the relationship between its leaders and higher beings. The breakup of the Golden Dawn was attributed to communication failures, with Crowley succeeding Mathers as a prominent occult figure. Now, Crowley's influence on modern occultism is vast, as he introduced Eastern meditation techniques to the Western magical traditions. And of course, Islam, Sufism was a big factor in his influence. Please watch my Crowley video to get a better idea. Other significant figures influenced by Crowley include Speer, Akkad, and Gardner, who revived witchcraft. The darker side of occultism involving the Ku Klux Klan, Fenian priesthood, and German Volkisch ideology also emerged. Legends surrounding the Templars and Assassins persist in modern literature and video games, with various speculative scenarios exploring their supposed possessions and activities. And overall, the influence and relevance of these esoteric traditions continue to captivate contemporary audiences through the movies, books, and video games. Now, the memory of traditional groups like the Templars and Assassins survived due to their archetypal impact on the psyche. Despite effort to discredit traditional beliefs, values like honor, chivalry, and self-sacrifice endure. The innate knowledge of the gods shared by these groups emphasize virtues such as courage and integrity. Modern attempts to undermine military standards of cohesion and obedience are resisted by the intrinsic need for unity within military bodies. Mystical aspirations and moral absolutes linked to an innate knowledge of the gods suggest a higher moral standard promotes moral excellence. A comparison indicates that totalitarian, anything that's like tyrannical or totalitarian, poses a greater threat than religion in modern times. The 9 degrees of wisdom outlined the Ismaili system, starting with creating doubt and progressing through spiritual teachings and mysteries, culminating in challenging traditional beliefs and embracing mysticism. Now, the discussion of the 9th degree Ismaili initiate as a mediator between God and man is also as the Ismaili system is very powerful, and a lot of it that influenced what we know as the Western mystery tradition. And you basically look at how the discussion is there on the 9th degree Ismaili initiate as a mediator between God and man, studying Greek Gnostic cosmological teachings and the concept of a formless, nameless being beyond previous conceptions, and the mention of the oft-quoted statement, "Nothing is true, everything is permitted," and encourages ego surrender and moral austerity for spiritual truth. A sermon of exhortations for Knights of the Temple is presented, emphasizing spiritual warfare against sins and demons, and the virtues, of course, of spiritual knights with the fertility of worldly knighthood, and basically living a lavish lifestyle is not usually it at the end of the day. You got to have a pure conscience. And basically, the teachings of this book discuss the reasons for war and disputes, stating that killing or dying at the hands of others for irrational or greedy causes is not justified. And the Knights of Christ, as they also have this fight in battle without fear of sin or death, as they serve Christ, whether they kill or are killed. And basically, this what Wasserman here A lot of the points here are like many people would say like right-wing propaganda. And a lot of these secret societies and groups, I covered it before, they bring an egregore into your life, as I covered with Pepe and Sheikh Wahid on Freemasonry and Golden Dawn and all this stuff. So as an occultist, like, he's got his own perspective as a white European man of promoting his biases in what he's trying to teach here. But yeah, it's basically he's trying to show the Knights Templar as these holy warriors of Christ, right, who are justified in all that they do. So yeah, moving on, the Knights Templar prioritize security over wealth, using swift horses for fighting rather than for display. They value victory over glory and strike fear in their enemies. Despite their peaceful nature, there are skilled warriors who rely on the Lord for success in battle. And the Muslims defeated the Crusaders in the Middle Ages and in the modern Iraq-Afghanistan wars, including the one happening in Gaza now, where there is resistance, even though people say that they are weakened. They're still kicking their asses. And of course, these conflicts, it's always the same people fighting against the same people. It's nothing new. So that's pretty much it. They're all obsessed with Jerusalem and the temple and all of that, the stories in between. Now, many people would say that the information provided by Wasserman in this book is good and all that, but a lot of it seems like, to my perspective, Eurocentric right-wing propaganda. And the Knights Templar were defenders of Christ, but many people do not know that the Knights Templars were defenders of all faiths. To be the defender of the faith, you got to be a defender of all faiths, with even Richard and Saladin being initiates of the same esoteric brotherhoods and orders, and how even when the Knights Templars were in Al-Aqsa Mosque, they allowed Muslims to pray there. And you have all these ignoramuses with the Deus Volt memes, right, on Facebook and social media. They have no idea. So even that one time, the Knights Templar, there was a cross that had an image of Prophet Muhammad, right? Baphomet, Mahomet. So Islam was a big part of their life, and how it influenced all these secret societies and groups in the West, including Rosicrucianism. The symbol of the rose was used originally by the Qadiriya Sufi order, and Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, one of my spiritual guides, is known as the Rose of Baghdad. The rose signifying that mystical union with Allah, God. So even if you read the early manifestos of Rosicrucianism, he went to the east, to the Ikhwan al-Safa, the Brethren of Purity, right? And he took all that knowledge back to Europe and formed Rosicrucianism. That's why I only deal with Islam, because in the West, they take all this stuff from the East, water it down, repackage it, and try to sell it to you. Like, bro, I got the original source. I don't need anything that you're offering me, and it's not going to do anything for me anyway. So yeah, the Knights Templar were renowned for their dedication to defending virtue and salvation. They were seen as brave defenders fighting for sacred virtues and martyrs. And of course, they prioritized security over wealth, valuing victory over glory. And of course, how we see is that even in today's world, the fight between these different groups of that piece of land is still happening as we speak. It's still the same people fighting against the same people, and it's always going to be that way. So, yes, but as time goes on, things are going to change. Now, the degrees of the Knights Templars and the Ismaili Nazaris, and of course the Assassins, were very, very similar. If you look at the, let's say, the Ismaili Nazaris, their first degree, if you look at the Grand Master or the Prince of the Mountain or the Old Man of the Mountain, and then of course you have the Dais in Al-Kabir, or the three great viceroys under him. Then you have the Dais or provincial masters, the Rafiqs or chaplains, the Lazik or military body, the Fadains, death devoted, or the Batini or the secret brethren, the affiliates. If you look at the Templars, they have the same, the Grand Master, the 3 Grand Priors, the Provincial Prior, the Chaplains, the Knights, the Esquires, the Serving Brethren, the Donato and Obligati, and the Affiliati. So it's all there. And of course, if you look at let's say some of the ruling bloodlines in Europe, especially the ruling bloodlines and families in Italy, they have a very huge significance over world events today. So as we see, even in Assassin's Creed, the second one, right, there was that conflict between the Borgia and the Medici, and Ezio, the character, was involved in that. He was on Lorenzo de' Medici's side, and even a lot of the assassination contracts would be from Lorenzo de' Medici in the second Assassin's Creed. So those bloodlines, the ruling bloodlines of those parts, the Venetian bloodlines, they still hold a very influence on the world today. If you look at the Jesuits, the Pope, the Grey Pope, a lot of those bloodlines, the Farneses, right? Many people could say that it's still like the ancient Persians who are a part of those bloodlines. People have theories. So your world is not ruled by people that you know, such as the Rockefellers and Rothschild, and people that you're allowed to know about. The people that truly run things, are the ones that you don't know about. That's the main thing. Of course, whether it's Rosicrucianisms or the Knights Templars, or what we know as groups today as Freemasonry and all that stuff today, it's heavily borrowed from Islam and Sufism. And if you go on my YouTube channel playlist, you'll see the Islam, Sufism, and Freemasonry playlist. And I cover all of these topics extensively, including the book, The Islamic Origins of Freemasonry, the Knights Templars of the Middle East. Now, most people do not know that there was an Arabization of the Knights Templar, and the charges against them accused them of being crypto-Muslim, with worshipping of Baphomet, Muhammad, and denial of Christ. And they were persecuted on a Friday, holy day for Islam, or a day of worship. And even that church in Turkey, Anatolia, which found that cross with the image of Muhammad in a Templar church that they found. They made treaties in Holy Land with Muslims contrary to French interest, and betraying Frankish armies to Muslims during periods of conflict. Robert of St. Albans, English Knight Templar who converted to Islam and married Saladin's niece. In the 1270s, the Templar commander in Sidon, Matthew Savage, also spelled Sermaj, and the Mamluk ruler of Egypt, Sultan Baybars, were blood brothers. Hugo de Paynes, the co-founders and the first Grand Master, was a descendant of Moorish Sufis, and his grandfather was a Moorish Sufi. And if you look at a lot of those family crest, right, of Hugo de Paynes and the families that he was connected to, like the Paganis and all that, you could see that the Moorish heads on those crests. So yeah, that's that history right there. Thank you for watching. Again, as a consumer of this book who legally purchased it, I reserve my rights, and of course under free speech, fair use. If any questions, please email me at salmonshake911@gmail.com. All images used were retrieved from public domain searches and are the rightful property of their respective owners. The images used in this video are for the purpose of nonprofit awareness and education, which is protected by the copyright laws of fair use, education purpose. All my videos are for nonprofit and educational purposes. Thank you. All rights reserved.